Hello everybody, welcome back to the Huddersfield Town preview show. We're delighted to be joined by manager Lee Grant. Lee, a big win on Tuesday night in the Virtue Trophy. You're really pleased post-game, I'm guessing that's still the emotion now?
Yeah, definitely. We were good. We really went after the game. And I think, again, having spoken to their staff, I think afterwards, looking at the side they pick, it was a game they really wanted to win and they felt they could progress into the competition. And for us to go there on their patch and play with real confidence, a real composed performance. I love the fact that we got the clean sheet because that was really important to us. So lots of elements to like and to be, really positive about, having come away with a good win and progressing obviously into the next round.
With another couple of away games and testing away games coming, it brings us some momentum and belief before we've got to take those on, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think the group are playing with real confidence, I've got to be honest.
Yeah.
Watching them since Bolton in the FA Cup, there's been a real sense of we're doing all right and we're in a good place, and I've loved to see the group in that sort of mode really. I think that's been reflected in the way we've gone on after teams at the start of games. I think we've been really positive and aggressive in our actions at the start of games. We've got to continue that because that's been a real positive for us. And the lads have had the rewards from that as well. I think we're disappointed that we've not, had even more success in this little recent block of games. But as I said, there's plenty of good stuff to take with us going into another tough fixture now coming up this weekend.
Do you think the results haven't necessarily reflected then what you're seeing in the performances in some areas?
Well, of course, we've had good wins.
Yeah.
Good wins at home to Plymouth, which was a really important game, no doubt. The win in the Virtue against Manfield was massive, but then we talked about bookending that international break. We hadn't managed to do that prior in terms of going into an international break in a good place and coming out the other end in a really good place. So lovely to do that. So we have had the results. We've scored a lot of goals over the last month, which has been really important.
I think it was a league high 10.
I think so, yeah. And look, that's nice. And I think, again, that just shows that the lads have perhaps dropped the shoulders a little bit and playing with a bit more freedom and aggression. And which is, look, we train that way. It's nice to see that translating into how we go about our fixtures at the weekend or midweek as it is now as well. So look, again, we're really pleased about how the group's performing. We're not getting ahead of ourselves, that's for sure, because as I say, we've had enough kidney punches over the last few weeks and recent months that we know that we've got to be mindful that it can just as easily turn if we're not doing the right things and if we're not as concentrated and we're not as aggressive. So we're mindful of all of that, of course, but we have to take confidence with where we're at the moment.
We heard you in the press conference talking about how excited the group is about the test at Cardiff. That must be a nice, fresh mentality to be able to go into that sort of game with, because their home form, especially in the league, is really impressive. Yeah.
Well, look, they're one of the best teams in the league across most metrics. Of course, their league position tells us a lot about who they are and what they're going to be this year. But in terms of objectively, what are they doing? Well, they're going to have the football the most out of anyone in the league. So what does that tell us? Well, we're going to have to suffer a little bit for sure. And if you watch games where they've been successful and games where they've been less successful, that doesn't really change. So we know we have to be prepared for a really tough game. They are one of, if not the most athletic teams in the league. So it means we've got to match that and go above and beyond. We've got to be prepared to be at our best physically, and that takes a sense, a certain amount of humility as well to be, right, we're going to be, without the football, a little bit less than what we would be usually. We're going to have to run a lot, we're going to have to compete a lot, and the margins are going to be small and tight, and lots to be excited about that as well, because the details are going to be really important in this sort of game. So, yeah, an exciting one, I think, for everybody.
I guess that's why, before you go into that sort of a game where you're talking about the physical levels, it's really helpful to be able to make 9 changes the midweek beforehand.
Yeah, it is. But similar to Cardiff, we've got the ability to make changes and be really strong. Now, they're no different. they've got players that haven't played in the cup competition, also haven't played in the league, and can come in and be one of the best players in this division. They've got an exceptional squad to call upon. We're really pleased and excited about our squad as well. So, look, we know it's going to be a really good matchup, and I think it's right that the supporters and the players and everybody should be excited about this sort of game. And I'm excited about seeing how we go into the game, not just the game itself, but our mentality, our attitude, because I think that'll be one of the deciding factors on the game for sure.
In terms of team news from midweek, how have the group come through that?
Yeah, really good. We've not been able to say that a lot, Raj, have we? So
I don't look forward to asking you sometimes.
Yeah, I've been really happy with the fact that over the last couple of days we've managed to get Murray Wallace his first minutes for 2 months. David Kasumi back in the squad, playing 70 minutes near enough, and a really good performance. And obviously the list goes on with a few other guys that would have been pleased to have got their first minutes in a little while under their belt. So that's a big positive for the group.
In terms of this block as a whole and Northampton afterwards, and then finally a home game on the other side of that, how much of this is a mental test as well as a physical test? Because it can be a lot of a mental burden as well, having to think about the different oppositions and the expectation levels.
Yeah, it's a good point, because the spectrum's massive in this division and the tests are so varied. So probably the best and the easiest way for the lads to deal with that is to be laser focused and have the blinkers on for each week, not try to get too far ahead, and really put all focus and all energy into what's right in front of them. It comes around quick enough for everybody the next game that they don't get too much time to think or stress or worry. Before we know it, Northampton will be upon us. But again, having the squad and having one or two more available to us that we've not had recently is helpful. Obviously, we're still missing a few, so it would be nice to have the full complement available. But look, as I said, it's a challenging period. We knew it going into it. The guys were certainly prepared and I think had their heads on what this would look and feel like. Most of them are experienced enough now to understand what this sort of period means and is, and be able to find their way through it.
The last thing I want to ask you, because he's going to be the next person we speak to, is just on Ben Wiles. He, for the fourth time this season, wore the armband in midweek and led the team to a really impressive win, as we've discussed. Just talk to us a little bit about Wiles, the different positions we've seen him popping up in, and his position in the squad as well.
Yeah, look, I've set a high bar for Ben, and I don't mind saying that, because I expect a lot of him and demand a lot of him as well. And I think with the nature of his standing in the football club and what I feel as though he can produce at this level, I want his level to be sky high every minute of every single game. And that also means that I want the extra bits from him as well, like the leadership, aspect. And I want to see him carry that armband and be able to perform still well with it. And I want him, I want the whole thing, because I want to push Ben to be the best version of himself all of the time. Obviously, he starts a lot of games for me because he's important, and we want to continue to see him pushing and delivering his best version. And I think Ben can do that in a variety of positions and moments and situations within games. So, look, as with everybody, we're in a good phase in terms of what we're doing going forwards and towards the opposition goal, and Ben's obviously been a big part of that as well.
Thank you for that. Best of luck this weekend.
Cheers,
we'll be
Raj.
back in a moment with Ben Wiles. Hello everybody, welcome back to the Huddersfield Town preview show. We're delighted to be joined by midfielder Ben Wiles. Wilesy, a big win on Tuesday night against Lincoln away in the Virtue Trophy. Captain for the fourth time as well this season. Yep. How was that evening for you?
Yeah, brill. Obviously, always a pleasure, stick the armband on when Leds is either getting a good rest or not involved. But performance aside, we were delighted. Don't get me wrong, like I said previously, it wasn't as most prettiest performance, but I think from an element of mentality and resilience, I think it was really good for us to come away with a clean sheet and defending how we had. I think it stems us to be in good confidence and form going into this weekend.
You've won that competition before at Rotherham. It's something that some people can look down on sometimes, but it's a good experience if you do well in it.
Yeah, of course. Obviously not many people can, say they've been to Wembley. It's one of the, most famous grounds for us to ever play at. But to be fair, I was going to say this the other day to the lads. It's not the actual Wembley side of things or getting, winning a trophy. I think it just puts you in such good, headspace for the league.
Yeah.
That I think that stemmed us on to doing so well, and just having that in the back of the mind of being able to go, to this historic stadium, and if you're doing well there, you're doing well in the league. Confidence is oozing. I think it's massive for the league and to put us in such a good position.
It's interesting because there's a couple of you that have won it in the past. I think Mikel won it at Plymouth as well. For you, Mikel won it with you actually.
With me at Rotherham,
I was going to say Plymouth did win it.
Yeah.
But for you with the league, especially this weekend with a big game at Cardiff, winning that builds a bit of momentum and a bit of belief up, doesn't it?
Yeah, of course, and that's such a massive factor going into the game. You say it all the time, when someone's confident or a team's confident, it's so visible. You can see it in the performances and tend to come away with a positive result. So yeah, that's it's massive for us to take into this week and the weeks going forward. And I think we're in a good place for as performances to have that bit of arrogance about ourselves and show teams that obviously we might have had some performances that not been as best, but from now we're going to take it to teams and try and run all over them.
You need a bit of belief and a bit of a shot in your arm, don't you? Because when you're away as much as we are at the moment in time, and you're playing Saturday, Tuesday, your legs are going to be tired, your minds are going to be frazzled with the amount of games you're playing, but having that momentum is really important.
Yeah, it's huge. That sometimes just gets you through a game. Them tough performances away, at the smaller grounds where the atmosphere is not as noticeable. I know it's difficult to say, but it is easy, to kind of not get up for the game as much because you've not got all them factors taking place. But they're just as important. And when that momentum's oozing through you, that literally carries the team through. And like I said, it's just so obvious to see that a team's confident when they're winning, and you can see it through the performances.
For you this season as well, like many of the lads with the way that the manager wants to play, you've popped up in all sorts of different positions, all sorts of different roles, been pushed a bit higher sometimes as well. How have you been finding that? Yeah,
I really enjoy it. I like to base my performances and trying to get involved as much as I can, creating chances, whether that be in assists, goals, or even just assisting the assist, just being involved. Like I said, scoring goals, and it's one of the best feelings ever. So if I'm up there as much as I can, the chances of me are higher. So, but like I said, I'm just really happy I'm playing. I'll play anywhere. I'll run around. I'll give it my all. I like running back and helping out, because that's sometimes really good for the team and it makes you feel better as well. So yeah, I've popped up a few places, but yeah, I'm happy to play anywhere.
The last thing I want to ask you is, the last time you were on the show, the last time we spoke to you was really early on in the season, and you were helping the new lads settle in, and we changed, I think, 14 players at that point. What's the group like now? Is it a lot more settled? Is the dynamics sorted in terms of the new personalities and who's getting on with everyone else, and people falling into their places naturally now? Yeah,
obviously that's a normal thing. And when I said at the beginning, it was a team that felt and it looked like we've been together much longer. But like I said, now it's just grown even more. More personalities are coming out. We're doing more things as a group. And yeah, it's important for the group. But obviously, like I said, we're still learning as well. It's not all going to click together instantly. So there's still things that people will, open up about or do more stuff together. That's just not natural towards the end. But yeah, we're in a really good place, and I think the lads, it's a great changing rooms. I've been lucky enough to be in it a lot, and this is another one.
Last thing I just want to ask you is, because it's you, Rotherham away on the 20th, it's a few days before Christmas, going back home. That's a nice way to go into the festive period for you.
Yeah, obviously, it'll be nice to go back there, and in a festive period. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it.
All the family and friends coming?
Yeah, it should be a good turnout.
Thank you for your time, Ben.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.